Mossberg,
Here.
Turner, Parker.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll go to the next item, approval of minutes of regular meeting held January 11th.
I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting held January 11th.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston,
Yes.
Mossberg.
Yes.
We'll go on to the next item, number 4, reports from staff, city council report.
You know, there's been a lot happened since we last met, between snow apocalypse, ice apocalypse, whatever, water lines breaking all over town, and having to, that's why we missed our last meeting. We're having initial talks about budgets. We're really just kind of in a mode of getting everything caught up from having been, backed up a little bit with the weather primarily. Got city council coming up next week. We'll have executive session to talk about Angelica's performance, and City Hall was down for a little bit during all that mess. We had no heat down there for a while. We had, everybody still came to work, but it was about 35, 40 degrees inside the offices, and so they had some challenges to deal with there. I was on a call last week with the Oklahoma Municipal League Board, and it does look like municipalities are going to be in for some funding through this $1.9 trillion CARES Act that's going through, I guess it's back to the House now. I think it went through the Senate, and I haven't heard yet that it's been approved, but the cities are on the first round of that CARES Act funding that municipalities were eligible for. It was primarily, it was a very limited scope, but they did allow municipalities to fund their public safety salaries and benefits. And so that's going to be probably the biggest piece of the pie for this next round of funding, but it sounds like there's going to also be some broader purposes that they'll allow for spending. COVID expenses, the public safety salaries, and maybe a few other things were thrown in there as well. But this one is not going to the way it was originally set forth. It wouldn't go through the governor's office for distribution. The formulas would all be applied at the federal level, and it would be disseminated that way to municipalities, as well as all the other dollars that are in that bill. Angelica, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to let you know that I handed out the February financial statements. They were not included in the packet that was sent out. We had some HR, across the nation, HR reporting was down, and so we had some timing delays trying to get our financial statements for February closed out, so those are there. I just wanted to mention the upcoming city council election. Before we meet again, I believe we will have the election, if I remember correctly. Yep. So make sure you get out and vote for your city council members. We'll have some turnover there. I wanted to talk, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but at the end of January, we moved $250,000 from our pool cash account to our savings account. We've been setting aside 5% of our sales tax for the purpose of paying back the loan to the airport. Our intent at this time is to also pay an additional $250,000 back to the airport, so we're ahead of schedule, ahead of that 10-year plan. I'm very excited about that. And our intent, Mayor Parker, correct me if I'm wrong, is to use that money to open up a savings account for the airport, or not a savings account, a checking account for the airport. I know that was the desire of the airport commission to have that separated out, so. Streets are, we're finding all the problems that we didn't know we had with the cold weather, you know, the streets. We've got some buckling pavement. The stoplight at 4th and Oklahoma, we're working to get that corrected. The moisture that we've had off and on is really affecting that. It's going to take a little bit of money to get that fixed, and working through the process of getting someone here to get that fixed. So it may be blinking a little bit longer, but as it dries out, hopefully we can reset it and it'll stay working appropriately for a while. That's all I have right now. Any questions?
Okay, anything else in manager's report, or the city council report, rather?
That's all I've got.
Okay, if not, we'll go on to the next item is manager's report.
Well, since there's 2 months, it's gonna take a while. Unfortunately. Both months, January and February, the weather wasn't the greatest, so the fuel sales were down. February more than January. We've already sold this first week half of what we sold in February, so it's picking back up. The 100 low lead for wholesale price went from, I got it at 305 in January, and the next week it went up to 315, and then at the end of the month it was 325. This month it's already up to $3.52, so within a month, you know, it's already went up 50 cents. So we could be seeing $4 a gallon, our price, pretty soon. I got the new card reader and program to accept the government cards. I'm still in contact with DLA to get that contract started. I've been in touch with a few airports, Stillwater, Ponca City. I tried, I can't remember which one in Kansas was it, Liberal. But they gave me numbers, and it's still, their contact numbers, I still had a hard time getting a hold of somebody. So we're still kind of, the guy that I talked from Stillwater, it took him almost a year to get that contract on, so this could be a long process. See here, January 23rd, Captain Matt Simpson with the Vance Air Force Base came and toured the facility, kind of went over what a presentation and program for the Share the Air would be like, and just to kind of get a good feel for our airport. Well, at that time in January, Wise Electric ordered the parts to fix the Pappies and was going to set up a date to repair them, and it was going to be probably in January had that not, the weather not happened. Hangar number 3 and the T hangars became available when Mr. Darrow moved out, and it is now occupied by True Aviation, which is it's a 172 owned by 4 people, so it's now no longer empty. I was using it as a overnight, and we got a lot of compliments off of that, since it's a nice big hangar and a nice open space. I kind of wanted to keep it as an overnight, but yeah, it wouldn't make as much money off of it. The light on the water tower, Mark Hess climbed it and replaced it with 2 bulbs. Found out the lights are easy to replace, but getting up there, that's a different story. The first level, when you get up to the top of the ladder, the first step off of there is wood, and it's rotted, so you have to take an extra big step to get to the metal. So at some point in time, we probably need to look into getting something up there to maybe weld a piece on there to make it more secure. But once you get up there, onto the catwalk on the outside and then climb up there, it's a pretty easy replacement. We still go for hunting. But I've since kind of slowed them down. They're still popping up, but it's mainly on the outer areas, and I'm actually kind of moving them, I think, to the field, so it's somebody else's problem after that. The Jet A truck had a couple of fittings that were vibrating loose. Seems like I would tighten them and then they'd vibrate loose some more, so I took them off and I put some tape on there, and I did some Teflon tape and then I put them back on there. So far they haven't vibrated loose, but some of them are also weathered, so we replaced with a new fitting. The dozer plow was repaired. The blade on it was wore down so far that it was actually eating up into the actual plow instead of just the blade. So it was estimated at $2,000, but it came in at $1,636 instead. So we got CG Welding did that repair. In February, the Captain Matt Simpson came back. There's supposed to be another guy, but he did not show up. But they had to drive here instead of fly here because of the fog. But that program went really well. I brought in 30 chairs, and there was 22 of those chairs filled, so that went really well. So Todd Holder at Holder Drug furnished sandwiches. So that lunch turned out really well too. So I had to thank John Weebner for setting it up, and Todd Holder for the food. I rearranged the round top, and I got it to where there was some extra spots, but with Mike Mackey buying a new plane, he put his Husky in his hangar down here, and then he moved his 182 to the round top and is paying for a spot. So there's one spot taken up, and then Eric Brewer's 310's back, so, and that's a twin, so it's taking up quite a bit of space in there. So we're down to really just one spot for an overnight if anybody that was to need one. So I don't know if it's time to start talking about a new set of hangars now, or because if we built 6 to 8 hangars, I could probably have them filled. I mean, they would be filled pretty quick. Last week, I kind of known about this for a while, but it just came, I was supposed to have a meeting with the FAA last month with the weather, so they came down for the AWAS, and that's a big cluster. hasn't been inspected like it was supposed to have been, or maintenance, logs kept. They did come, last year the FAA met with L&P Enterprises and had a list of stuff that was supposed to be fixed, was not fixed. The true north marker, there was a blower motor issue and the, I don't know what it's called, but it reads the ceiling height. So that's why we've been getting, every once in a while we get a false reading on the ceiling, be lower than what it actually is. And I actually had the weather station in Norman call me and asking me if there's something was, if we really had clouds or if our centimeters, is that what it's called, was screwed up. So with that not being inspected, I think out of the 2 out of the 6 maintenance quarters that were, out of the 6 maintenance quarters, only 2 of them were actually logged out of the past 6. So I think half of that is on the L&P Enterprises and half of that's probably on the airport manager on getting that set up. Because the Larry of L&P Enterprises said that every time he's came up here to maintenance it, there's been bad weather before, and so he thinks it's too soft to get out there, so he's telling me we need an access road out there so he can get out there. I don't know, it doesn't rain 365 days a year, so should be able to get there, you know, so.
The Larry requested an access road?
Well, he's wanting one because he's saying that, you know, out of the airports that he maintenances, the AWAS, most of them have access roads. He thinks it's hard to get out there. He doesn't, you know, afraid he's gonna get stuck. I get out there just fine. All the other maintenance personnel get out there. Wise Electric, they got out there just fine. So I don't know. The FAA inspector, when the AWAS was put in, a rain gauge, a tipping bucket wasn't required, but a couple of years later the FAA started requiring one, and we don't have one, so we need to get one. Normally they're around $5,000–6,000, but Larry says he's come across one for $2,800. We don't have to get one, but right now we're at a level 3 or 3 PT, which means we've got all the sensors, and that allows us to put our information on the internet for the flight plans. If we don't get that, we'll be knocked down to a 2, and we can't put our information on the internet, which means everybody will skip us over because they won't see everything when they're making their flight plans. So, unfortunately, I mean, it's kind of a piece that we need. And I don't know if that was said, I don't know when that came in effect, when they started requiring that, and I don't know if it's been brought up before.
I don't remember it ever being a discussion item. Do you?
I don't remember you ever hearing that. Is there a deadline when it has to be done?
Within the next year.
Okay.
So they gave us the whole year to do that?
Yeah, for the next, I was hoping they would have been back this weekend, but they had to do Sand Springs and Blackwell, so they're gonna be here tomorrow, so I'll have a better answer.
So
Then,
who's here tomorrow?
L&P Enterprises and the FAA inspector, they're coming back.
Both of them? What, they ride around together?
Yeah, well, they have to go, we're not the only airport that's had a problem with L&P Enterprise not doing their maintenance logs. It's been sent out like the past 2 years, and it's finally come to the point to where they had to be here, and we have to get it fixed or we won't be in compliance, and then they'll shut our AWAS down. well, they won't be able to certify it FAA. We're non-federal, so,
Do we keep a copy of those logs?
we're supposed to. This is all supposed to be on the AWAS maintenance. Whoever maintenances our AWAS is supposed to keep a log here. They're supposed to be in contact with the FAA. So when they come here, everything's supposed to be here.
Right. And the LMP hasn't been doing that.
No. Matter of fact,
For how long? 2 to 3 years?
they've only done it 2 out of the 6 quarters, so the last 2 years.
Year and a half.
It wasn't, let's see, it was 2018, he said he came and there wasn't anything. In December 2019 was the last inspection when he was here.
By the FAA?
Yep. And so in between then, there's been no maintenance.
So is the FAA, is that an annual inspection or?
Yeah. Yeah, the FAA comes once a year, but they normally don't involve us. It's just between them and the AWAS maintenance company.
Is it because we're so far out of compliance?
Well, yeah, it's not been kept up log-wise and everything, is why it's come to the point. And then between our present weather's doesn't come up when you call the number or when you go over the radio. It's just a lot of things culminating to either get it done now or, so that's why if we continue with L&P, they're substantially cheaper than other companies. I haven't been able to contact anybody. I tried to call one today, but then I got caught up in some other stuff to figure out who they use and how much they cost. But from what I hear, L&P is quite a bit cheaper than any of the others.
Not if we have to catch up
Well, yeah.
or get fined.
Right. I mean, I guess apparently we get what we pay for.
Well, at one point, we were instructed that LMP was the only ones around that didn't,
Right.
which I would find hard to believe, but
Yeah. From the inspector, he can't recommend anybody,
right.
but what he told me to do is call around and see who they use and get their, then I could find out, what they think of who they use.
But I think it's a little bit ludicrous that he's blaming the weather every time he comes here that he can't do something.
Right.
He's in the weather business, dealing with that,
Right, yeah.
that he can't predict, that he can't step outside and take a look at what the cat ear is going on and get up here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So,
kind of what I was thinking.
sounds like the FAA is keeping a close eye on him now.
Now, but that's after the fact.
Yeah, but I mean, he's either going to keep up or the FAA is going to,
Are they licensed by the FAA to work on this?
I would think so.
Yeah, you have to be.
I'm surprised they didn't pull it.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
We should have some more information after tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
So that's probably why the FAA is following it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gone to everyone that he hasn't kept up with also besides us, which was Sand Springs, Blackwell. There was another one I can't quite remember who it was, but there was 3.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then starting to get everything ready for mowing season. I started spraying the cracks. I tried to get them sprayed before the rain and the soil sterilant. That Thursday before it rained was my final day to try to get everything, and that's when the inspection happened, so I didn't quite get exactly what I wanted done. This Sunday we had a breakfast. Bob had some people from Great Bend in Wichita. They flew in their bay and RVs. They had a couple of rockets. It went pretty well. turnout from what I thought it was gonna be. So it kind of gave me an idea of what it takes to get one. It's gonna take a lot more if we advertise and more people come, but I don't really think it'd be that difficult to get one going. So, Brandon Bushman, his company, he came and looked at our units. They had replaced the filters and put in filters where there wasn't any filters, where there should have been filters. So hopefully that probably saves a little bit on our utilities maybe. And we got a couple of people. Gary Halton wants to put in a bathroom in his hangar. So I don't know. He's asking questions on the drain lines if they go anywhere to a septic, or if they go just kind of where they go. I'm not for sure. So
There's no sewer lines.
well, yeah, there's no sewer lines besides the main lines, but I didn't know if his runs to a septic.
That hangar, I don't think so.
There's
I
no
think it runs to
septic.
a ditch.
There's no sewer or
Runs to a
septic in
ditch.
that hangar.
Okay, so we can't use that. That shouldn't run to a ditch anyway. So that's good to know that there's really no, so he can,
Well, the only, the stakes have sewer?
States has, must be a septic.
So I think we've got a few septics, but we don't have any sewer lines out here really.
Right.
Most everything up.
Yeah, this
So-
building's on septic.
we just need to know, I mean, according to ordinances, anything in city limits is supposed to run to the city sewer, it's not supposed to run to a septic. So technically he can't put in a septic, but everything here is on a septic. So,
We'll have to look into that a little
so
bit.
I don't know, I was kind of lost to what to tell him, so.
Well, he'd have to get a variance to put in a septic system.
Those details we can-
So, and then John Weebner, he wants to build a hangar, so I'll have to start that process on kind of where he can and for what it's going to take to get one, or for him to be able to. Pretty much all I have.
I have anything for the airport manager? Okay, and we'll go on to the next item. Item 5, discussion and action to approve change order number 1, reducing the total cost of the total project for an amount not to exceed $191,927.50.
So essentially, this is the final, I did not realize that we had to do a change order. We did not utilize all the funds that the OAC allocated for that project. And so we will need to approve this change order. It'll go to City Council for approval, and that'll be the final thing that'll close out our Otis project. And then we've already paid Wise Electric, everything's been paid for, but that will allow us to get our final reimbursement from the OAC to pay for that. So.
I move to approve change order number 1, reducing the total cost of the Odals project for an amount not to exceed $191,927.50.
Second. Discussion? If none, call the roll, please.
Parker,
Yes.
Mossberg,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston.
Yes. We'll go on to the next item, number 6, discussion and action to create a budget committee to prepare the FY 21-22 budget for the airport fund.
You guys had, when we talked last year, I know Paul, you had said that the airport commission had previously had more involvement in the budget process. So just like to get that process started. I figured we'd have two subcommittee members, and Derek and I can start meeting with whoever that would be and work to get that put together. We need to start having some meetings pretty quickly.
I'm willing and probably able.
You would be on it, Paul? Sure. Okay, there's the two committee members. We need formal action.
You're just appointing.
Okay. Go on to the next item, discussion and action to reinvest CD number 11911, which expires on March 1st, 2021.
So this CD expired on March 1st. We'll need to, I talked to the city treasurer on March 1st. We had enough days to be able to get this taken care of, but they allow us 10 days after the expiration date. It is a stabilization CD, so really the most appropriate action would be to reinvest that. I just wanted to bring it before the commission to make sure that was what you guys desired to do. Do you have a term that you'd like to see it reinvested at? Rates are not fabulous right now, so.
You know, I think with that one, 12 months would probably be where we'd want to land on that, and then hopefully in another year the rates improve.
There's not been a great variance between even 6, 12, or 24 months. They've all kind of been around the same, about 0.5%, give or take some in there. I think I've seen as good as 0.6% if you do 24 months, but I agree with Mayor Parker. I like to see us do it for maybe a year, hopefully with the anticipation that the rates will be better in a year, and we can then maybe reinvest it long term.
I like it to get much worse. Sounds fine to me.
Should buy gold with it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion on that one just to have it formalized, that we reinvest CD number 11911 for a period of 12 months.
Second, anybody? Okay. Got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Parker?
Yes.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Call it.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Logston?
Yes.
Mossberg?
Yes.
Okay. Next item is, I'm going to change it up just for a moment here and go down to remarks and inquiries by citizens. Did you have something that you wanted to say, or
Yes.
that way you don't have to sit here and wait?
Yeah,
till
you
we
can
go into
sit
executive
in
session?
Yeah, I'd like to just back up what Derek said. We had a really good safety fly-in. I think that's really good. Just keep doing programs like that, because you prevent one mid-air, one's close to accident. It's good, and the breakfast was well attended. What Derek here and the whole board here, I want to tell you, Saturday when Jason was working, you have a very alert person that's working when Derek's not here. And I was taxiing out to go to a business meeting, and he called me on the radio and said, "Hey, One Gulf Sierra, your aircraft doesn't look right." I shut down, and sure enough, something wasn't right on my airplane. Fixed it. It could have been a real big problem we got in the air. So, see Jason, I told him Sunday, I said, really, thank you for just always paying attention when there's aircraft movements. So that's what we call a save. He had a save on Saturday. That was awesome.
Do we have any other citizens that want to? If not, let's back up and go back to item 8, discussion and action to enter into an executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307 B1 to discuss the evaluation of the airport manager.
I need a motion. I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Mossberg?
Yes.
Logston?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.